Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything. You guys watch the video and feel it. Then let's evaluate together. The night Nashville met Zara Coleman wasn't just a performance. It was a damn revolution. The Bluebird Cafe, a hole in the wall, joint tucked away from the neon chaos of Broadway Street, was packed to the rafters. The air smelled of spilled beer, cheap cologne, and anticipation. Dim lights cast a golden glow over scuffed wooden tables where locals and tourists clutched their drinks, eyes glued to the tiny stage. A neon sign flickered above the bar, buzzing like a heartbeat. This was the heart of Music City, where dreams were born or buried. And tonight, Zara Coleman was about to set it on fire. Zara stood under the spotlight, all 5'7" of her radiating defiance, her black cowboy hat tilted at a cocky angle, long braided, hair glinting like obsidian under the stage lights. Her denim shirt hugged her curves, sleeves rolled up to show off a tattoo of a guitar on her forearm, a tribute to her daddy, Solomon Coleman, the country soul legend who taught her to sing from the gut. At 33, Zara was no stranger to hard knocks, but the way she gripped her guitar said she wasn't here to lose. Her boots, scuffed from years of Memphis street gigs, tapped the floor as she strummed the opening chords of Memphis Fire, a song she'd written in a dive bar at 19, pouring her heart into every damn note. Her voice hit the room like a lightning bolt. Husky raw, a blend of Dolly Parton's twang and Aretha Franklin's soul-born, on the red dirt roads of Memphis town. My heart's aflame, it one to burn down. She sang each word dripping with grit and glory. The crowd leaned in, spellbound, as her fingers danced over the strings, coaxing out a melody that felt like a summer storm rolling through Tennessee hills. For a moment, the Bluebird was hers, every soul in the room swaying to her rhythm. Then, like a needle scratching a record, it happened. A burly guy in a faded trucker hat, 3 beers deep, staggered to his feet at a corner table. His face was flushed, eyes glassy, and his voice cut through the music like a rusty blade. "Hey, girl," he slurred, loud enough to make heads turn. "Go back to Memphis. You don't belong in country." The room froze. Zara's fingers paused on the strings, the last note hanging in the air like a held breath. Whispers rippled through the crowd. A woman at the bar gasped. The bartender, a grizzled man with a gray ponytail, reached for his phone, ready to call security. But Zara didn't flinch. Her lips curled into a dangerous smile, the kind that said she'd faced worse than this and come out swinging. She flicked off her mic, the click echoing in the silence, and stepped off the stage boots, thudding on the worn floorboards. The crowd parted as she strode toward the drunk, her cowboy hat casting a shadow over her face. She stopped inches from him, close enough to smell the whiskey on his breath. The guy smirked, thinking he'd won, but Zara's eyes burned with a fire that could melt steel. "You got a problem with my black-ass singing country," she said, her voice low and steady, every word slicing through the tension. "It up with my guitar." She turned, grabbed an acoustic from a stunned musician nearby, and ripped into a riff so fierce it felt like the room shook. The crowd gasped, then cheered, as she jumped back on stage, plugged in her mic, and launched into the chorus of Memphis Fire with a vengeance. "I'll sing my truth. I'll shout it loud. Ain't no man gonna shut me down." The Bluebird erupted. People leapt to their feet, clapping, hollering, some waving their phones to capture the moment. A group of college girls in cowboy boots screamed her name. An old man in a Stetson wiped a tear from his eye. Zara owned the stage, her voice soaring, her guitar wailing, turning a bigot's taunt into fuel for a performance that would be talked about for years. In the back corner, Wyatt Brooks sat in a leather jacket, arms crossed, his jaw tight. At 39, he was the CEO of Brooks Records, a man who'd built a fortune, but was fighting to keep his company from sinking under the weight of bigger labels. His dark hair was streaked with gray, his blue eyes sharp as a hawk's. He'd come to the Bluebird to size up Zara Coleman, the woman he was being forced to marry, to secure a distribution deal with a global label. The deal was his lifeline, but the catch. Zara was the daughter of Solomon Coleman, a legend Wyatt's father had screwed over decades ago. Wyatt didn't trust her. He'd heard stories her fiery temper, a public feud with a pop star years back, and he was sure she was just another fame-hungry hustler riding her daddy's coattails. But as Zara tore through her song, Wyatt's cynicism cracked. Her voice hit him like a shot of bourbon, warm and sharp, stirring, something he hadn't felt in years. "Damn," he muttered to his assistant, a nervous kid named Tim, who was scribbling notes on a napkin. "She's good. Too good." Tim nodded, wide-eyed. "Boss, she's a freaking hurricane." Wyatt leaned back, trying to stay detached, but his eyes kept drifting to Zara, his hands on the guitar, the way her braids swayed as she moved, the fire in her gaze. He told himself it was business, nothing more. She was trouble loud, cocky, everything he didn't need in his carefully controlled world. But deep down, he knew trouble like her could change everything. The song ended, and the crowd roared, demanding an encore. Zara tipped her hat, grinning, but her eyes scanned the room, landing on Wyatt. For a split second, she didn't know him yet, but she felt his stare like a predator sizing up prey. She wasn't here to play nice. She'd agreed to this bullshit marriage deal to save her album, a country soul masterpiece she'd poured her soul into. But she'd be damned if she let some rich white boy run her life. Backstage, the air was thick with sweat and adrenaline. Zara slung her guitar over her shoulder, wiping her brow with a bandana. Her best friend Lila May, a 28-year-old country singer with a blonde ponytail and a knack for disaster, rushed over, nearly tripping over as a cable. "Zara, holy crap, you slayed out there," Lila squealed, her Tennessee drawl thick as molasses. "That jackass didn't know what hit him." Zara laughed, but her eyes were still sharp. "Yeah, well, he's lucky I didn't hit him for real. Where's my water?" Lila fumbled in her purse, pulling out a half-empty bottle. But in her excitement, she dropped it, splashing Zara his boots. "Oh shit, my bad," Lila yelped, diving for a napkin. "I swear, I am better at singing than holding stuff." "Girl, you a walking tornado," Zara teased, shaking her head. She took a swig of water, her mind already on the next fight. Had heard whispers about Wyatt Brooks, the cold-as-ice CEO who thought she was some scheming diva. Let him think what he wanted. She'd prove him wrong with every note she sang. Malik Turner, her old friend and sound engineer, sauntered over, his dreads tied back, a smirk on his face. At 35, Malik was a Memphis native like Zara, with a quick wit and a knack for fixing any mess, musical or otherwise. "Yo, Zara, you just made. That dude wish he'd stayed home," he said, chuckling. "But heads up, there's a suit in the corner staring at you like you stole his lunch money." Zara followed Malik's gaze, spotting Wyatt. He was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, his face unreadable. "That's the guy?" "Huh," she muttered. "The one who thinks I am here to rob his damn company." "Looks like he's already sizing you up for the altar," Malik said, grinning. "You sure about this marriage deal? Dude's got asshole written all over him." "And T no choice, Malik," Zara said, her voice hard. "I need Brooks Records to get my album out. But I ain't a nobody's trophy wife. He wants to play games. I'll play harder." As if on cue, Wyatt pushed off the wall and walked toward her, his boots clicking on the floor. The crowd parted, sensing the tension. Up close, he was taller than she'd expected, with a jawline that could cut glass and eyes that didn't miss a thing. He stopped a foot away, his cologne sharp and expensive, and looked her up and down like she was a contract he wasn't sure he wanted to sign. "Nice stunt out there, Coleman," Wyatt said, his voice low, with a hint of a southern drawl. You sure know how to work a room. But I don't buy the rebel with a guitar act. Zara raised an eyebrow, unfazed. And I don't buy your savior of country music bullshit. Brooks, she shot back, her Memphis accent thick. You need me more than I need your sorry ass. So what's it gonna be? You signing my contract? Or you just here to waste my time? Wyatt's lips twitched, almost a smile, but his eyes stayed cold. I'm here to see if you're worth the trouble. That little show with the drunk bold, but it done to prove you're not playing me for my name. Zara stepped closer, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Listen up, cowboy. I don't need your name. I got my daddy's, and it's worth more than your whole damn company. You want this deal? You better keep up. The air between them crackled, like a storm about to break. Malik coughed, trying to break the tension, but Lila, oblivious, piped up. Why all? Maybe done to start a fight in the middle of the Bluebird. I already owe the bartender for that beer I spilled. Wyatt ignored her. His eyes locked on Zara S. We'll see who's keeping up. Coleman, he said, then turned and walked away, leaving her fuming. Zara clenched her fists, her heart pounding. She'd faced down Drunk's critics, and a lifetime of doors slammed in her face. But Wyatt, Brooks, was a different kind of challenge. He thought he could control her, but he was about to learn Zara Coleman didn't bend for anyone. As the crowd thinned out, the neon lights of the Bluebird flickered, casting long shadows on the street outside. Nashville was alive with music, drama, and secrets, and tonight, Zara had lit the first spark of a fire that would either save her dreams or burn everything down. Holy crap, did you see Zara shut that jerk down and stare Wyatt into next week if you were obsessed with her fire and the drama brewing in Nashville? Smash that subscribe button and comment below. What do you think Zara is gonna do to make this cowboy eat his words? Let's get this Music City party started. The Brooks Record Studio was a cluttered cave of dreams and desperation, tucked in a brick building off Music Row. Inside, the air smelled of burnt coffee, old leather, and the faint hum of amplifiers. Tangled cables snaked across the floor, leading to a soundproof booth where Zara Coleman stood, her cowboy hat tipped back, headphones slung around her neck. She was tweaking a melody on her guitar, her fingers moving with the precision of a surgeon. But her jaw was tight. It had been a week since her explosive night at the Bluebird Cafe, and the high of shutting down that drunk heckler was fading fast. Nashville wasn't done testing her. Outside the booth, Wyatt Brooks leaned against a mixing board, his arms crossed, his blue eyes narrowed. He was still reeling from Zara's performance. Her voice had haunted his dreams, a mix of fire and velvet. He couldn't shake. But trust, that was another story. He spent years building Brooks Records from his father's ashes, dodging sharks in an industry that ate dreamers for breakfast. Zara, with her sharp tongue and rebel swagger, screamed trouble. He'd agreed to this damn marriage deal to save his company. But every time she opened her mouth, he wondered if he'd signed up for a war. Try that chorus again, Wyatt said. His voice clipped, cutting through the low hum of the studio. It's dragging. We don't have time for half-assed takes. Zara shot him a look that could be melted steel. Half-assed, she said, her Memphis drawl thick with defiance. Boy, I've been singing circles around your roster since I was in pigtails. Maybe your ears need a tune-up. Malik Turner, the sound engineer, snorted from behind the mixing board, his dreads swaying as he adjusted a slider. She ain't wrong, boss, he said, grinning. That chorus is tight. You just ain't used to soul this raw. Wyatt's lips twitched, but he didn't budge. Raw's one thing, marketable's another. You want this album to compete with the big dogs. Coleman, you better deliver. Zara rolled her eyes, strumming a sharp chord that echoed like a warning shot. Deliver, I am carrying your whole damn company on my back. You are welcome. The tension in the room was thicker than a Tennessee summer. Malik glanced at Lila Mae Zara's best friend, who was perched on a stool, scrolling through her phone. Lila, a blonde tornado in cowboy boots, was humming to herself, oblivious to the brewing storm. She'd already knocked over a coffee cup earlier, leaving a brown stain on the carpet, and Malik was still side-eyeing her for it. "Yo, Lila," Malik called. "You gonna break something else? Or you actually helping today?" Lila looked up, blushing. "Oh. Hush, Malik. I said I'd bring donuts tomorrow to make up for it." She waved her phone. "Besides, I am checking X for Zara's buzz. That Bluebird clip has got, like, 10,000 likes already." Zara's lips curved into a half-smile, but it faded when she caught Wyatt's stare. He wasn't impressed by viral clips or her sassy comebacks. He was waiting for her to slip, to prove she was the scheming diva he'd pegged her for. He'd heard the rumors about herself, how she'd cussed out a pop star in a studio years ago, how she was too aggressive for country. Nashville loved to whisper, and Wyatt was listening to every word. The session dragged on, with Zara laying down tracks that made Malik nod in awe and Wyatt scowl in silence. By late afternoon, the studio was a pressure cooker, and Zara was ready to bolt. She was about to call it a day when Lila's phone pinged with a notification that changed everything. Zara, Lila said, her voice suddenly small. "You might want to see this." Zara stepped out of the booth, wiping sweat from her brow. "What now?" "Another fan video." Lila hesitated, then handed over her phone. The screen showed a post on X trending under the hashtag #ZaraTheThief. The post from an anonymous account claimed Zara had stolen the melody for Memphis Fire from a no-name singer in Chattanooga. Attached was a grainy audio clip, eerily similar to Zara's song. Comments poured in, vicious and unrelenting. Knew she was a fraud. Typical. Stick to blues. Thief. Zara's stomach dropped. She gripped the phone so hard her knuckles whitened. "This is some straight-up bullshit," she said, her voice shaking with rage. "I wrote Memphis Fire in a goddamn dive bar when I was 19. I ain't nobody stealing my soul." Malik leaned over, frowning at the screen. "That clip's fake as hell," he said. "Sounds like someone ran it through a cheap AI, but damn, it's spreading fast." Wyatt, who'd been watching from across the room, walked over, his boots clicking on the hardwood floor. He glanced at the phone, his expression unreadable. "Care to explain?" "Coleman," he said, his tone cold as a winter wind. Zara spun on him, her eyes blazing. "Explain? You think I'd stoop to stealing some nobody's tune? I've been writing my own shit since I could hold a pencil. This is a setup, and you are eating it up like a damn fool." Wyatt crossed his arms, unmoved. "I've seen your type before, loud, cocky, and usually hiding something. If you are clean, prove it. I don't have time for your drama." "My drama?" Zara stepped closer, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You don't know a damn thing about me." The room went quiet, the only sound the faint buzz of an amp. Lila chewed her lip, clutching her phone like it might explode. Malik raised an eyebrow, ready to jump in if things got uglier. But Wyatt didn't back down. "Prove it," he repeated, his eyes locked on hers. "Or this deal in your precious album is dead." Zara's fists clenched, but before she could fire back, Lila's phone pinged again. Another post, this one from a verified account. Cassandra Holt, a veteran producer with a viper smile and a grudge against Zara's father. "Sad to see Solomon Coleman's daughter fall so low." The post read, "Talent doesn't justify theft. #ZaraTheThief." Zara's blood ran cold. "Cassandra, The woman who'd worked with her daddy years ago, only to badmouth him after he died, claiming he'd wasted her time. Now she was coming for Zara, and she wasn't playing subtle. "That bitch," Zara muttered, slamming the phone onto the mixing board. "She's behind this. I'd bet my guitar on it." Wyatt raised an eyebrow. "Cassandra Holt. She's got more clout in this town than you'll ever have. You sure you want to pick that fight?" Zara glared at him. "I ain't picking fights. Brooks, I'm ending them. And when I am done, you'll be begging to kiss my boots." She stormed out of the studio, her cowboy hat casting a shadow on the wall. The door slammed behind her, rattling the glass in the booth. Lila winced, whispering to Malik, "Well, that went great." Malik shook his head, chuckling despite the tension. "Girl, you better hide that phone before Zara turns it into kindling." Wyatt stared at the door, his jaw tight. He wanted to believe Zara, but the evidence was piling up and his company couldn't afford a scandal. Still, her fire, her damn defiance stuck with him, like a song he couldn't unhear. He cursed under his breath, wondering if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. That night, Zara found herself at a dive bar on Lower Broadway Street, the kind of place where neon signs buzzed and the jukebox played Hank Williams. The street outside was alive with tourists in cowboy hats, their laughter mingling with the twang of live music spilling from every door. Zara sat at the bar, nursing a whiskey, her hat pulled low. The ex-posts were still burning a hole in her mind, each comment a knife to her pride. She'd fought too hard to let some faceless troll or Cassandra Holt tear her down. Lila slid onto the stool next to her, her boots dangling. "You okay, girl?" she asked, her voice soft. "I know that ex-crap's got you messed up." Zara took a sip, the whiskey burning her throat. "I am fine, Lila. Just pissed as hell. Cassandra's playing dirty, and Wyatt is eating her lies like candy." Lila frowned, twirling a strand of blonde hair. "Wyatt is a jerk, but I saw how he looked at you in the studio, like he wanted to hate you but couldn't. Maybe he's not all bad." Zara snorted. "Not all bad. He's got entitled asshole written all over him. I ain't here to fix his soul." Before Lila could reply, a man in a plaid shirt approached, a smirk on his face. He was a music critic, the kind who wrote snarky reviews for local blogs. "Zara Coleman, right?" he said, leaning on the bar. "Heard about that ex-drama. Gotta say, Memphis fired on to sound so original anymore. You really country. Or you just playing dress-up?" Zara's grip tightened on her glass. She stood, towering over him, her hat casting a shadow. "You want to talk country?" she said, her voice low and deadly. "Step outside, and I'll sing you something so real it'll make your sorry ass cry." The critic blinked, caught off guard, but before he could respond, the Bar S house band struck up a tune. Zara didn't hesitate. She grabbed a mic from the stage, ignoring the band's confused looks, and launched into a freestyle verse, her voice raw and unfiltered. "I am country from my boots to my soul, born in Memphis, where the stories unfold. You can to break me. No matter what you say, I'll sing my truth till my dying day." The crowd erupted, clapping and stomping. The critic slunk away, his smirk gone. Lila whooped, nearly spilling her beer. "That's my girl," she shouted, waving her phone to record it. Zara stepped off the stage, her heart pounding, but the victory felt hollow. The ex-posts were still out there, and Wyatt's doubt was a weight she couldn't shake. She needed to clear her name, not just for herself, but for her daddy's legacy. And if that meant going to war with Cassandra Holt and Wyatt Brooks, she was ready. Back at Brooks Records, Wyatt sat in his office, a glass of bourbon in hand. The studio was dark, the only light coming from his laptop screen where the ex-post glowed like poison. He didn't want to believe Zara was a thief, but the evidence was damning, and his company was hanging by a thread. He thought of her in the studio, the way her voice had cut through his defenses. the way her eyes challenged him to be better. "Damn it," he muttered, slamming the glass down. "What the hell are you doing to me?" Coleman, outside. Nashville glittered, its neon heart beating strong. But for Zara, the fight was just beginning, and the whispers of betrayal were growing louder. Zara Coleman's apartment was a sanctuary of chaos, a third-floor walk-up in East Nashville, where the walls told stories. Posters of Mahalia Jackson and Johnny Cash hung crookedly above a sagging couch. A battered coffee table was littered with sheet music, and a corner held her daddy's old acoustic guitar, its wood scratched but warm with memory. The air smelled of cedar and last night's takeout hot chicken from Prince, half-eaten in a styrofoam box. It was a few days after the X-storm that had branded her, Zara the thief. And Zara was fraying at the edges. The whiskey from that dive bar on Lower Broadway hadn't dulled the sting of Wyatt Brooks' doubt or Cassandra Holtis' venom. She needed a win, and she needed it now. She slumped onto the couch, her cowboy hat tossed on a chair, her braids loose and spilling over her shoulders. Her phone buzzed with notifications, more X posts, more hate. But she ignored it, reaching instead for a cardboard box she'd been avoiding for years. It was her daddy-s packed away after his death when she was just a teenager. Solomon Coleman, the country soul legend, had left her more than his voice. He'd left her a legacy she was still trying to live up to. She opened the box, her fingers trembling, and pulled out a worn leather notebook, its pages yellowed and curling. Zara flipped it open, and her breath caught. The notebook was filled with Solomon's handwriting, slanted urgent like he was racing time. Lyrics, chords, fragments of songs he'd never finished. One-page dog-eared and smudged, held a title in bold, Soul on the strings. The words hit her like a freight train. Take my heart, let it sing through the night. From Memphis to Nashville, we'll burn so bright. The lyrics read, accompanied by a melody line that felt like home. It was raw, unfinished, but it was her daddy's soul, poured onto paper. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them away. This was it, the spark she needed to fight back against the lies, to prove she was more than a hashtag. She grabbed her guitar, strumming the chords from the page, her voice low as she tested the melody. It was magic. Like Solomon was in the room, guiding her. But then she turned the page, and her heart sank. A note, scrawled in her daddy-s hand. Brooks Records owes me. Eli Brooks buried my work. Don T. Trustum. Zara, Eli Brooks Wyatt's father. The man who'd built Brooks Records into a powerhouse only to leave it crumbling in his son's hands. Zara, as hands shook as she read the words again. Her daddy had been cheated, his music silenced, and now she was tied to the same family, married to their damn heir in a deal she could barely stomach. Son of a bitch, she muttered, slamming the notebook shut. Wyatt wasn't just doubting her, he was carrying his father's sins, and she'd been too blind to see it. The next morning, Zara stormed into Brooks Records, the notebook tucked under her arm like a weapon. The studio was quieter than usual, air heavy with the weight of her anger. Malik was at the mixing board, sipping coffee, while Lila sat cross-legged on the floor, scrolling through X with a worried frown. Wyatt stood by the window, his back to the room, his broad shoulders tense under a black button-down. The sunlight streaming through the glass caught the gray in his hair, making him look older, wearier than the cold CEO she'd met at the Bluebird. We need to talk. Brooks, Zara said, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. She slapped the notebook onto the mixing board, making Malik jump. Now, Wyatt turned, his blue eyes narrowing. What's this about? Coleman. Another tantrum. Zara stepped closer, her boots thudding on the hardwood. Tantrum. You want to talk about tantrums? Let's talk about your daddy screwing over mine. Eli Brooks buried my father's music, and now you are trying to bury me with this Haj Zara the thief bullshit. Wyatt's jaw tightened, but he didn't flinch. Watch your mouth, he said, his drawl low and dangerous. You don't know what you are talking about. Oh, I know plenty. Zara shot back, opening the notebook to Solomon. S-note. She shoved it under his nose. Read it. Your family owed my daddy, and instead of paying up, you let him die broke. Now you are standing there, acting like I'm the problem. Screw you. Brooks, Malik whistled low, leaning back in his chair. Damn, Zara, you ain't a holding back. Lila's eyes widened, her phone forgotten. Why all? Maybe done to burn the studio down I already owe Malik for that coffee spill. Wyatt ignored them, his gaze locked on the notebook. He read the note, his expression unreadable, but a flicker of something guilt, maybe crossed, his face. This doesn't prove anything, he said, but his voice was less certain. My father was a hard man, but he didn't steal from anyone. Then why's my daddy's name on this? Zara demanded, jabbing a finger at the page. Why'd he write this if your family was so damn innocent? Wyatt ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply. I don't know. All right. My father's been out of the game for years. If there was a debt, it's news to me. Well, it ain't a news to me, Zara said, her voice trembling with rage. And I'm not letting you or your company screw me over like you did him. I'm done playing nice. She turned to leave, but Wyatt grabbed her arm, his grip firm but not rough. Zara, wait, he said, his voice softer, almost pleading. If this is true, I'll look into it. But you can just storm out and expect me to fix your mess. Zara yanked her arm free, her eyes blazing. My mess. You are the one swallowing Cassandra's lies. You want me to prove myself fine, but don't expect me to kiss your ass while I'm at it. She stormed out, leaving the notebook on the mixing board. The door slammed, rattling the glass in the booth. Malik shook his head, muttering, This place is gonna need a fire extinguisher soon. Lila bit her lip, glancing at Wyatt. She's not wrong, you know, she said timidly. Zara's got more heart than half this town. Maybe you should give her a chance. Wyatt didn't respond, his eyes fixed on the notebook. He'd spent his life cleaning up his father's messes, but this was a ghost he hadn't seen coming. That evening, Zara sat in her apartment, the notebook open on her lap. She'd spent hours working on Soul on the strings, weaving her daddy-esque lyrics with her own, creating something that felt like a bridge between Memphis and Nashville. The melody was haunting a slow strum that built into a soulful crescendo, and her voice carried it like a prayer. She recorded a rough demo on her phone, her fingers trembling as she sang Take My Heart. Let it sing through the night, from Memphis to Nashville. We'll burn so bright. She was about to call it a night when her phone buzzed. It was Lila, her voice frantic. Zara girl, I messed up big. Time I posted a pic of your notebook on X, thought it hype your fans, but now everyone is freaking out, saying you are working on a secret album, Zara groaned, pinching the bridge of her nose. Lila, I'm gonna kick my own ass for letting you near my phone. Delete it, now. Too late, Lila said, sounding sheepish. It's got, like, 1,000 retweets already, but, some fans are saying it's proof you're legit, so silver lining. Zara sighed, but a small smile tugged at her lips. Lila was a disaster, but she was her disaster. Fine, but you're buying me hot chicken for a month to make up for this. As she hung up, a knock came at her door. She opened it to find Wyatt, his leather jacket speckled with rain from a sudden Nashville shower. His face was drawn, his eyes searching hers. We need to talk, he said, his voice low. Zara crossed her arms, blocking the doorway. "Unless you're here to apologize, I ain't interested." "I am not apologizing," Wyatt said, but his tone was softer than before. "I am here to work. That song you were humming in the studio today, Soul on the Strings, I heard it through the booth. It's good, really good. Let me help you finish it." Zara raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "Why the hell should I trust you? You're still half convinced I'm a thief." Wyatt stepped closer, the rain on his jacket catching the light. "Because I know what it is like to carry a legacy," he said. "My father's shadow is heavy, same as yours. If that song's your truth, I want to hear it. No games." For a moment, Zara didn't move, her heart pounding. She wanted to slam the door in his face. But something in his eyes, vulnerability, maybe stopped her. "Fine," she said, stepping aside. "But one wrong move. Brooks, and you are out." Inside the apartment felt smaller with Wyatt's presence, his cologne mixing with the cedar scent of her space. They sat on the couch, the notebook between them. Zara played the demo, her voice filling the room, and Wyatt listened, his usual scowl replaced by something softer. When it ended, he picked up her daddy-esque guitar, surprising her, and strummed a counter-melody, his fingers rusty but sure. "Not bad, cowboy," Zara said, a reluctant smile breaking through. "Didn't know you had it in you." Wyatt's lips twitched, almost a grin. "Used to play, back when I thought I could outrun my father's plans. Guess I still got a few tricks." They worked late into the night, their voices blending in a harmony that felt dangerous intimate. At one point, Wyatt sang a line back, to her his baritone low and warm. "We'll burn so bright, the stars'll fade." Zara's breath caught their eyes locking, and for a moment, the world was just them and the music. Their hands brushed as they reached for the notebook, and the air crackled with unspoken tension. Then Malik's voice boomed through Zara's phone, left on speaker from an earlier call. "Yo, why all making music or making out in there? I need that demo by morning." Zara laughed, the spell broken, and tossed a pillow at the phone. "Mind your damn business, Malik." Wyatt chuckled, a rare sound, and stood to leave. "We're not done. Coleman," he said, pausing at the door. "Not with the song or this." Zara watched him go, her heart a tangle of anger and something she wasn't ready to name. The notebook lay open on the couch, her daddy's words a reminder of the fight ahead. She was closer to the truth, but the shadows of the past were closing in. A few nights later, Zara took Soul on the Strings to a small bar off Demon Brown Street, a gritty spot where locals drank cheap beer, and the stage was barely big enough for her guitar. The crowd was small but loyal, their faces weathered by life and love of music. She sang the song for the first time in public, her voice raw and unpolished, the lyrics carrying her daddy's pain and her own defiance. From Memphis to Nashville, "We'll burn so bright," she sang, and the room fell silent, every note hitting like a heartbeat. When she finished, the crowd stood, clapping, some wiping tears. A woman in a denim jacket hugged her, whispering, "That was for all of us who've been told we don't belong." Zara's throat tightened, but she nodded, her resolve hardening. In the back, unnoticed, Wyatt watched his hands in his pockets. He'd come to see if she'd choke under pressure. But what he saw was a woman who could rewrite the rules of country music. For the first time, he wondered if he'd been wrong about her and what it would cost to admit it. The Nashville skyline glittered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Brooks Records' conference room, but the mood inside was anything but bright. The room smelled of polished wood and stale coffee, its long mahogany table littered with contracts and half-empty water bottles. Zara Coleman sat at, one end her cowboy hat resting on the table, her braids pulled back in a tight bun that matched the steel in her eyes. Across from her, Wyatt Brooks stood, his hands braced on the table, his jaw set like he was ready for a fight. The air crackled with tension, thick enough to choke on. It had been a week since Zara found her daddy's notebook, since she'd thrown Solomon Coleman's accusations in Wyatt's face. The discovery of Soul on the Strings had lit a fire in her. But the ex-Storm member, Zara. The thief was still raging, fueled by Cassandra Holt as Venom. Now the stakes were higher than ever. Brooks Records was days away from a make-or-break pitch to a global distributor, and Zara S. album was the linchpin. But trust between her and Wyatt was hanging by a thread, and the whispers of betrayal were growing louder. Malik Turner slouched in a chair near the door, his dreads tucked under a beanie, his fingers tapping idly on his phone. He was trying to stay out of the crossfire, but his loyalty to Zara was unwavering. Lila May, perched on the table, edge, was less subtle, her blonde ponytail bouncing as she scrolled through X, muttering about the latest posts. "This is such crap," she said, her Tennessee twang sharp. They were calling Zara a liar now, saying she faked her daddy's notebook. Can you believe this? Zara's lips tightened, but she didn't look up. She was scribbling lyrics in a notebook not her daddy's, but her own, trying to channel her rage into music. "Let him talk," she said, her voice low. "I ain't got time for trolls." Wyatt glanced at her, his blue eyes unreadable. He'd been digging into his father's old records, looking for proof of Solomon Coleman's claims, but so far he'd found nothing but dead ends. The notebook had shaken him, though he'd never admitted he wanted to believe Zara. But the ex-posts and Cassandra S. accusations were piling up, and his company couldn't afford a scandal. "You better have something to back up that attitude." "Coleman," he said, his drawl clipped. "The distributor S. coming tomorrow, and if this theft rumor sticks, we are screwed." Zara's pen froze. She looked up, her eyes blazing. "Screwed? You think I am the one screwing this up? Your ass is the one swallowing Cassandra's lies like they are sweet tea. I told you she's behind this, and you are still playing dumb." Wyatt's hands clenched into fists. "Cassandra has got no reason to target you," he said. "She's a pro, not some petty gossip. You're the one with a history of starting fights." Zara stood, her chair scraping the floor. "A history? You mean standing up for myself in a town that wants me gone? You don't know shit about my fights, Brooks, but you were about to." Malik coughed, trying to break the tension. "Why all? Maybe take it down a notch. We got enough drama without a cage match in here." Lila nodded, waving her phone. "Yeah, and I already broke a coffee cup this week. Don to make me add a table to the list." But Zara wasn't listening. She stepped closer to Wyatt, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You want to talk history? Let's talk about your daddy burying mine. I'm betting Cassandra knows more about that than she's letting on. You gonna keep defending her, or you gonna grow a pair and find out?" Wyatt's eyes darkened, but before he could respond, the conference room door swung open. Eli Brooks, Wyatt's father, strode in his silver, hair slicked back, his tailored suit screaming old money. At 65, Eli was a ghost from Nashville, as past a man who built Brooks Records with an iron fist and left it to Wyatt to clean up the wreckage. His presence sucked the air out of the room. "Enough of this nonsense," Eli said, his voice booming. He fixed his gaze on Zara, his lips curling into a sneer. "You are stirring up trouble, girl, just like your father. Solomon was a dreamer who couldn't deliver, and you are no different." Zara's blood boiled. She stepped forward, her boots thudding. "Don't you dare talk about my daddy," she said, her voice trembling with rage. "He was a legend, and you screwed him over, I got proof, and I ain't afraid to use it. Eli laughed, a cold, cutting sound. Proof that notebook's a fantasy. You are a liability, and if my son had any sense, he'd cut you loose. Wyatt's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. Zara's heart sank. She'd hoped he'd stand up to his father, but his silence was a betrayal. You're just like him, aren't you? She said, her voice breaking. All talk, no damn soul. She grabbed her hat and stormed out, the door slamming behind her. Lila scrambled to follow, whispering, Oh, shit, this is bad. Malik shook his head, muttering, Told you all this was going to blow up. Wyatt stared at the door. His fists clenched. He wanted to chase her, to say something, but Eli's hand on his shoulder stopped him. Let her go, son, Eli said. She is trouble, just like her father. We don't need her kind dragging us down. But Wyatt wasn't so sure anymore. Zara's fire was burning through his defenses, and he was starting to wonder if he'd been wrong about everything. That night, the storm broke over Nashville rain, lashing the city in sheets. Zara was back in her apartment, pacing like a caged animal, her guitar untouched. The X-posts had gotten uglier with a new audio clip, fake but convincing, circulating online. In it, a voice that sounded eerily like Zara S. admitted to stealing Memphis Fire. The hashtag Zara the Thief was trending worldwide, and the comments were a knife to her soul. Fraud. Liar. She's done. Zara slammed her fist on the coffee table, knocking over a glass of whiskey. This is bullshit, she yelled, her voice echoing in the empty room. She knew Cassandra was behind it, had to be. The woman had the connections, the motive, and the cold heart to pull it off. But proving it was another story, and with Wyatt siding with his father, Zara felt like she was fighting alone. Her phone buzzed, and she glanced at it, expecting another hate post. Instead, it was Malik, his voice urgent. Zara, get your ass to the studio. I found something on that fake audio. It's got digital fingerprints, sloppy ones. I think we can trace it. Zara's heart raced. You serious, don't mess with me? Malik, dead serious, he said. But we gotta move fast. Cassandra's playing hardball. Zara grabbed her hat and jacket, the rain soaking her as she ran to her truck. The studio was dark when she arrived, only light coming from Malika's laptop. He was hunched over it, his fingers flying across the keys. Lila was there too, looking frazzled, her boots leaving muddy prints on the floor. Tell me you got something good, Zara said, shaking rain from her hat. Malik grinned, pulling up a file. Check this. The Audio S got metadata pointing to a server linked to Holt Productions, Cassandra's company. She hired some cheap hacker to fake it, and they didn't cover their tracks. Zara's eyes widened. Holy shit, we can nail her. Not so fast, Malik said. We need more to make it stick. A paper trail, an email, something solid. Lila raised her hand, her face sheepish. I might be accidentally helped with that. She held up her phone, showing a screenshot of an ex-direct message. I was snooping around, pretending to be a fan, and some dude claiming to be the hacker DM'd me. He's pissed Cassandra didn't pay him enough. Says he has got emails. Zara laughed, despite herself. Lila, you're a damn disaster. But I love you. Send that to Malik. Malik nodded. Already typing. This is gold, but it's going to take time to verify. And we got to keep it quiet. If Cassandra gets wind of this, she'll cover her ass. Zara's resolve hardened. Then we move fast. I'm not letting her bury me. The next evening, Nashville's music scene gathered at a glitzy industry event at the Country Music Hall of Fame, a sprawling venue with crystal chandeliers and walls lined with gold records. Zara walked in her head high, her cowboy hat tilted defiantly. Her denim dress hugged her curves, and her boots clicked on the marble floor, drawing eyes from every corner. She was here to face Cassandra, to show the world she wasn't backing down. Wyatt was there too, standing by a bar, a bourbon in hand. He'd been avoiding her since the conference room blowout, but seeing her now fierce, unyielding, stirred something in him. He wanted to talk, to fix things. But Eli was watching from across the room, his presence a warning. Cassandra Holt swept in her red dress, clinging to her like a second skin, her smile sharp as a razor. She spotted Zara and made a beeline, her heels clicking. "Zara, darling," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "So brave of you to show up, with all this noise on X. Such a shame about your reputation." Zara's lips curled into a dangerous smile. "Noise? You mean the lies you're spreading? I know it's you, Cassandra, and I am coming for you." The crowd hushed, sensing the drama. Cassandra's smile didn't waver, but her eyes flashed. "Careful, dear. Accusations like that can ruin what's left of your career." Zara stepped closer, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Ruin me, bitch. I am from Memphis. We don't break, we fight. And when I am done, you will be the one begging for a comeback." Gasps rippled through the room. Lila, hovering nearby, nearly dropped her drink, whispering, "Oh shit." She went there. Malik, standing by the bar, grinned, giving Zara a subtle nod. Wyatt watched his heart pounding. He wanted to step in to back Zara, but Eli's voice echoed in his head. "She is trouble." Instead, he stayed silent, and when Cassandra turned to him, her eyes pleading for support, he nodded curtly. "Let's keep this professional," he said, his voice flat. Zara's eyes met his, and the hurt in them cut deeper than any words. She turned and walked away, the crowd parting like the Red Sea. Lila rushed after her, muttering, "I'm gonna need a whole bottle of wine after this." Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving Nashville slick and shining under the streetlights. Zara stood on the sidewalk, her fists clenched, her heart breaking. She'd faced down Cassandra, but Wyatt's silence was a betrayal she hadn't seen coming. She was alone again, but she wasn't done, not by a long shot. Back at the venue, Wyatt stood by the bar, his bourbon untouched. Cassandra sidled up, her smile triumphant. "You made the right call." "Wyatt," she said, "she's a liability. We'll find someone else for the album." Wyatt didn't respond, his eyes fixed on the door Zara had walked through. He thought of her voice, her fire, the way she had looked at him in her apartment, like she saw something worth saving. "Damn it," he muttered, slamming his glass down. He was starting to realize he'd picked the wrong side and it might cost him everything. The rain came down in sheets, turning Nashville's streets into rivers of neon and shadow. Zara Coleman's apartment was a warm glow. Against the storm, its windows streaked with water, the faint hum of a Merle Haggard record spinning on her old turntable. Inside, the air smelled of cedar coffee and the lingering spice of hot chicken takeout. Zara stood by the window, her cowboy hat on the couch, her braids loose and damp from a run through the rain. The X-storm. Zara, the thief, was still raging, and Wyatt Brooks' silence at the Country Music Hall of Fame had cut deeper than any hashtag. She felt like she was fighting a war on all fronts, and for the first time in years, she wasn't sure she could win. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table, breaking the spell. It was Malik Turner, his voice crackling with urgency. "Zara, get your ass to the studio now," he said. "I cracked it. That fake audio, I got proof it's Cassandra's doing." Zara's heart skipped a beat. "You serious?" she said, already grabbing her jacket. "Don't to play with me." "Malik, dead serious," he replied. "Found an email from the hacker to Holt Productions. Sloppy bastard didn't even encrypt it. Meet me here and bring your fight face." Zara hung up, her pulse racing. This was the break she needed, the chance to clear her name and bury Cassandra Holt. But Wyatt, his betrayal still burned. A wound she couldn't ignore. She pulled on her boots, the leather scuffed from years of battles, and headed out into the storm. The Brooks record studio was a beacon in the rain, its brick facade slick and shining. Inside, Malik was hunched over his laptop, the glow of the screen casting shadows on his face. Lila May sat cross-legged on the floor, her blonde ponytail askew, a bag of donuts on her lap as a peace offering for her earlier ex-blunder. The room smelled of wet clothes and burnt coffee. The usual chaos of cables and amps, a comforting constant. "All right, genius," Zara said, shaking rain from her jacket. "Show me what you got." Malik grinned, pulling up a file. "Check this shit out," he said, pointing to an email thread. "Hacker name is Joey, some lowlife out of Chattanooga. Cassandra hired him to fake that audio clip, paid him $5,000 up front, but stiffed him on the rest. Dude is pissed and spilling tea. This email ties it straight to her company." Zara leaned in her eyes, scanning the screen. The email was damning. Cassandra's assistant, instructing Joey to make it convincing and bury the Coleman girl. Zara's fists clenched, her nails digging into her palms. "That bitch," she muttered. "She thought she could take me out with this cheap-ass stunt." Lila nodded, munching a donut. Total snake move. "But, we got her now." "Right. This is enough to shut her down." Malik shook his head. "It's a start. But we need more to make it airtight. Joey is willing to talk, but he wants cash and a promise we won't rat him out. I am working on it, but it'll take a day or two." Zara's jaw tightened. "We don't have a day or two. The distributor's pitch is tomorrow, and if I don't clear my name, Wyatt's gonna tank my album." Lila's eyes widened. "Wyatt wouldn't do that, would he? I mean, he's a jerk. But I saw how he looked at you when you were singing Soul on the Strings. Dude's got it bad." Zara snorted, but her heart twinged at the memory of their late-night session in her apartment, the way Wyatt's voice had blended with hers, the brush of his hand on hers. "He's got nothing but his daddy's leash," she said. But her voice lacked conviction. Before Malik could respond, a knock came at the studio door. Loud and insistent, Zara opened it, and there stood Wyatt, soaked to the bone, his leather jacket dripping, his hair plastered to his forehead. His blue eyes were stormy, a mix of guilt and determination, and for a moment, Zara forgot how to breathe. "We need to talk," Wyatt said, his voice rough. "Now." Zara crossed her arms, blocking the doorway. "Unless you are here to grovel. I ain't interested. You made your choice at that fancy-ass event, standing with Cassandra and your daddy like a damn coward." Wyatt flinched, but he didn't back down. "I fucked up. Zara," he said, stepping closer, the rain dripping onto the floor. "I should have had your back. I was wrong, and I am here to make it right." Zara's heart pounded, but she held her ground. "Wrong. You let them drag my name through the mud. You think a sorry's gonna fix that?" "No," Wyatt said, his voice low and raw. "But this might." He pulled a flash drive from his pocket, holding it out. "I went through my father's old files last night. Found a contract from 30 years ago. Between Brooks Records and Solomon Coleman. Eli promised your daddy a solo album, then scrapped it and kept the masters. There's no money trail, but it's proof he was screwed over." Zara's breath caught. She took the flash drive, her fingers brushing Wyatt's, sending a jolt through her. "Why now?" she asked, her voice softer, searching his face. "Why should I trust you after everything?" "Because I'm done being my father's puppet," Wyatt said, his eyes locked on hers. "And because you are the realest thing I've ever heard. I don't just want your album, Zara, I want you." The room went silent. Malik and Lila exchanging wide-eyed looks. Lila whispered, "Oh my God, is this happening?" Malik shushed her, but his grin was unmistakable. Zara's walls cracked, but she wasn't ready to let him in. Words are cheap. "Brooks," she said, stepping back. "Show me you mean it." Wyatt nodded, his jaw tight. "I will. Starting with Cassandra. Malik, you got that email?" Malik blinked, surprised. Yeah, boss. You in on this now?" "All in," Wyatt said, his voice firm. "Let's bury her." The next night, Zara and Wyatt worked late at her apartment. The rain still falling outside, a soft patter against the windows. The flash drive and Malika's email were a start, but they needed a plan to expose Cassandra at the Distributor S pitch, a high-stakes meeting set for the Ryman Auditorium. The Merle Haggard record had given way to silence. The only sound Zara's guitar as she tweaked soul on the strings, her voice low and soulful. Wyatt sat on the couch, a notebook in hand, jotting ideas for the pitch. He'd shed his jacket, his black shirt unbuttoned at the collar, revealing a glimpse of tanned skin. Zara tried not to notice, but the air between them was charged. Every glance a spark. They'd been dancing around it since that night in her apartment. And now, with the truth laid bare, the tension was unbearable. "You are good at this," Zara said, breaking the silence. She nodded at his notes. "Didn't peg you for a strategist." Wyatt, his lips twitched a rare, almost smile. "Had to be growing up with Eli, learned to play the—" Wyatt stood, closing the distance between them. "You are not either," he said, his voice low, rough with emotion. "You are the fire I can put out, Zara, and I'm done trying." Her breath hitched as he reached for her, his hand cupping her face, his thumb brushing her cheek. The room shrank, the world reduced to the heat of his touch, the storm in his eyes. "You hurt me," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You sure you are ready for this?" "With you," Wyatt said, his lips inches from hers. "Hell yeah." He kissed her hard and hungry, like he'd been starving for her. Zara melted into it, her hands gripping his shirt, pulling him closer. The rain pounded outside, a wild rhythm matching their own. Wyatt's hands slid down her back, tugging at her denim shirt buttons, popping as it fell open. They stumbled to the couch, a tangle of limbs and heat, her braids spilling over his chest. The moment was raw, electric, his breath hot against her neck, her nails digging into his shoulders, the world fading to nothing but them. "Zara," he murmured, his voice a growl. "You're gonna ruin me." "Good," she whispered back, her lips curving into a smile. "You deserve it." They collapsed together, breathless, the rain a soft lullaby. As they lay there, tangled in each other, Zara felt something shift, a trust, fragile but real. For the first time, she wasn't fighting alone. The next morning, sunlight streamed through Zara's windows, painting the room gold. She woke in Wyatt's arms, his steady breathing a quiet comfort. Her phone buzzed, shattering the moment. It was Lila, her voice a mix of panic and glee. "Zara Coleman, you better not be in bed with that cowboy," she squealed. "Malik told me Wyatt's at your place, and I need details." "Stat," Zara laughed, her voice hoarse. "Chill, Lila. We're just strategizing." "Strategizing my ass," Lila said, cackling. "But for real, Malik S. got Joey S. emails locked down. We were ready to take Cassandra out. You in?" Zara glanced at Wyatt, who was stirring, his eyes meeting hers with a warmth she hadn't seen before. "Yeah," she said, her voice steady. "We're in." Later that day, the team gathered at Brooks Records, the studio buzzing with purpose. Malik had compiled a dossier, emails, metadata, even a recorded call from Joey confessing Cassandra's plan. Wyatt laid out the strategy they'd present Zara's album at the Ryman pitch, then dropped the evidence on Cassandra, exposing her in front of the distributor and the industry. It was a gamble, but Zara was ready. "We got one shot," Malik said, his eyes serious. "Cassandra is gonna come hard. You sure you're ready?" Zara nodded, her hat tilted defiantly. "Born ready. Let's make this shit legendary." Wyatt stood beside her, his hand brushing hers, a silent promise. "We do this together," he said. "No more games." Lila raised a donut, grinning, to kicking Cassandra's ass and, not spilling anything this time. Malik groaned, but his smile was wide. "Woman, you're gonna owe me a new laptop if you jinx this." As they finalized the plan, Zara felt a surge of hope. The truth was in her hands, and with Wyatt by her side, she was ready to fight. But Cassandra was a viper, and the Ryman pitch was her territory. The battle was coming, and it would change everything. The Ryman Auditorium glowed under Nashville's night sky, its stained glass windows catching the city's neon pulse, known as the Mother Church of country music. The Ryman was sacred ground, a place where legends were born and dreams were tested. Tonight, it was a battlefield. Auditorium was packed, its pews filled with industry bigwigs, distributors, and fans buzzing with anticipation for Brooks Records' pitch. The air smelled of polished wood, perfume, and nervous ambition. The stage lit like a beacon under a sea of spotlights. Zara Coleman stood backstage, her cowboy hat tilted defiantly, her braids glinting under the dim lights. Her denim dress hugged her curves, and her boots scuffed from years of grit grounded her against the chaos. In her hand was a USB drive loaded with Malik's evidence emails, metadata, and a confession from Joey, the hacker Cassandra Holt had hired to fake the audio that branded Zara a thief. Tonight wasn't just about saving her album. It was about reclaiming her name, her daddy's legacy, and her place in country music. Wyatt Brooks stood beside her, his black suit sharp, but his eyes softer than she'd ever seen the flash drive he'd given her. Proof of his father's betrayal of Solomon Coleman had changed everything. They were a team now bound by truth and something deeper, something that had ignited in the rain-soaked heat of her apartment. But the fight wasn't over. Cassandra was out there, her red dress a warning in the crowd. And Eli Brooks was watching from the wings, his silver hair a ghost of old Nashville. "You ready for this?" Wyatt asked, his voice low, his hand brushing hers. Zara's lips curved into a fierce smile. "Born ready, cowboy. Let's make this shit legendary." Malik Turner hovered nearby, his laptop tucked under his arm, a grin on his face. "Got everything locked and loaded," he said. "Cassandra's about to eat her own lies." Lila. May bounced on her toes, her blonde ponytail swinging, a nervous energy radiating from her Y. "All this is gonna be epic," she said, clutching a water bottle she was clearly about to spill. "But, don't let me near the soundboard." "Okay, I am already on Malik's shit list." Malik rolled his eyes. "Woman, you owe me a new laptop and my damn sanity. Stay put." Zara laughed, the sound easing the knot in her chest. Her team, her family was here, and with Wyatt by her side, she felt unstoppable. But as the stage manager called her name, a chill ran through her. Cassandra was a viper, and vipers didn't go down easy. The Ryman S stage was a hallowed space, its wooden floor worn by the boots of Hank Williams and Patsy Cline. Zara stepped into the spotlight, her guitar slung over her shoulder, the crowd's murmurs fading to silence. Wyatt stood at the podium, his presence commanding, but all eyes were on her. She strummed the opening chords of Soul on the strings, the song she'd crafted from her daddy's notebook, its melody a bridge between Memphis and Nashville. Her voice rose, raw and soulful, carrying the weight of every fight she'd faced. "Take my heart. Let it sing through the night from Memphis to Nashville. We'll burn so bright." The crowd leaned in spellbound, some swaying, others wiping tears. A distributor in a pinstripe suit nodded, scribbling notes. But then a screech cut. Through the music, a distorted audio clip blasting from the speakers. It was the fake confession. Zara's voice manipulated to say, "I took that melody. It was easier than writing my own." The crowd gasped, whispers erupting. Zara. The thief flashed across phones in the audience. Zara froze, her fingers stalling on the strings. She looked to the sound booth, where Cassandra stood, her smile cold and triumphant. The bitch had played her final card, rigging the system to humiliate Zara in front of everyone. Wyatt stepped forward, his face a mask of fury. "Cut the damn audio," he shouted, signaling the techs. The clip stopped, but the damage was done. The crowd was restless, the distributor frowning. Eli Brooks, in the wings, shook his head, his sneer saying he'd expected this. Zara's heart pounded, but she wasn't done. She unplugged her guitar, the silence deafening, and stepped to the edge of the stage. "You all want to know the truth," she said, her voice ringing out, unamplified but fierce. "That audio's fake, cooked up by someone who is scared of what I bring to this stage. I am Zara Coleman, daughter of Solomon Coleman, and I don't steal, I create." She strummed a single chord, then sang Soul on the strings acoustic, her voice raw, unfiltered, a prayer and a battle cry. The crowd's phones lit up, their flashlights swaying like stars, turning the Ryman into a sea of light. Her words hit home. "We'll burn so bright, the stars'll fade." And by the end, the audience was on its feet, clapping, cheering, some sobbing openly. Wyatt seized the moment, stepping to the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his drawl steady, "Zara Coleman is the future of country music, and I was a damn fool to doubt her." He held up the USB drive, his eyes locking on Cassandra in the crowd. "This contains proof that Cassandra Holt fabricated that audio to sabotage Zara. Emails, a confession from her hacker, the works. She tried to bury a black woman who dared to shine in this industry, and we're not letting her get away with it." The crowd gasped, turning to Cassandra, who stood frozen, her face pale. Malik, in the sound booth, projected the emails onto a screen behind the Shijan, the damning words glowing for all to see. Whispers turned to boos, and Cassandra bolted for the exit, her heels clicking in a desperate retreat. Eli Brooks stepped forward, his face a storm of rage and shame. "Wyatt, what the hell are you doing?" he hissed. Wyatt faced him, unflinching. "Cleaning up your mess. Dad, you screwed over Solomon Coleman, and I'm not letting history repeat itself. Zara's album is happening, and so is this company on our terms." Eli's mouth opened, then closed, his power crumbling. He turned and walked out, leaving Wyatt standing tall. The distributor stood, clapping slowly, then faster, joined by the crowd in a thunderous ovation. Zara looked at Wyatt, her eyes shining with pride and something deeper. She stepped to his side, taking his hand, and together they faced the Ryman, their victory hard-won and undeniable. Weeks later, the dust had settled and Nashville was buzzing with Zara's triumph. Her album Soul on the Strings was climbing the charts, its title track a anthem for anyone who'd ever been told they didn't belong. Brooks Records was back on solid ground, with Wyatt and Zara running it as partners in business and in love. They'd moved past the marriage deal, choosing each other for real, their nights filled with music and laughter in Zara's apartment. Zara stood on a patch of land in Memphis, the sun setting over the Mississippi River, its waters glinting gold. She'd bought the plot with her album as first royalties, and today she was breaking ground on the Solomon Coleman Music School, a place for black youth to learn country, soul, and everything in between. The crowd was small but vibrant kids, parents, local musicians, all gathered to celebrate a dream born from her daddy's legacy. She took the stage, a simple platform under an oak tree, and sang Soul on the strings, Wyatt playing guitar beside her, his fingers sure and steady. The kids swayed, some singing along, their voices a promise of the future. A teenage girl. Her hair in braids like Zara S. ran up after, hugging her tight. "You made me believe I can sing country too," she said, tears in her eyes. Zara's throat tightened, but she smiled. "You can, baby girl, and you will." As the crowd dispersed, Lila organized a celebratory barbecue, her energy as chaotic as ever. She tripped over a cooler, spilling ice across the grass, and Malik groaned, throwing up his hands. "Lila, you're gonna pay for my damn therapy," he shouted, but his laugh gave him away. Lila grinned, waving the spatula. "Chill, Malik. I'll write a song about it. Ode to the ice spill." Zara laughed, leaning into Wyatt, his arm around her waist. The night was warm, the stars bright, and for the first time in years, she felt whole. But as she packed up her daddy's notebook, a folded letter slipped out. Its edges warned the handwriting unmistakably. Solomon. She opened it, her breath catching at the words. "The last song's hidden. Zara. Find it at the old Ryman vault. It's worth more than gold, and it'll shake Brooks Records to its core. Watch your back." Zara's pulse raced. She looked at Wyatt, who was helping Malik load equipment, his smile easy but unaware. "This ain't over, cowboy," she murmured, tucking the letter away. "You ready for another fight?" Wyatt caught her eye, sensing her shift. "With you," he said, walking over, his voice low. "Always." The night closed around them, the Mississippi flowing steady and silent, carrying secrets yet to be uncovered. Nashville's neon heart beat on, and Zara knew the next chapter was waiting just beyond the horizon. Wow, what a ride. Zara's triumph at the Ryman, and that mysterious letter got you hooked, right? Smash that subscribe button and comment below. What do you think Solomon's hidden song is, and who is coming for Zara next? Drop your theories, and let's keep the Nashville drama rolling.